Have you ever loved someone so fiercely, so completely, that you were willing to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm? What if the person you were keeping warm used that fire to forge an empire, and then threw water on you the moment they reached the top? Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the most jaw-dropping, absolutely nuclear stories of betrayal and revenge on the internet. If you love seeing absolute audacity met with absolute karma, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story. Today's story is about a woman named Maya. For 4 agonizingly long years, Maya played the role of the ultimate supportive girlfriend. She bled herself dry, emotionally, physically, and financially, to build the man she loved into a titan of the tech industry. And how did he repay her? By deciding she was too poor to stand beside him. But Liam, our tech bro antagonist, forgot one tiny, microscopic, multi-million-dollar detail. When you build your castle on someone else's land, they own the castle. Grab your popcorn, folks, because the comeuppance in this one is going to satisfy your soul. Let's rewind to the beginning. Maya and Liam met in their early 20s. Maya was a pragmatist, a hard worker with a heart of gold, a degree in healthcare administration, and a quiet dream of one day owning a home with a wraparound porch. Liam was a visionary, or at least that's what he told everyone who would listen. He was a software developer with big ideas and absolutely zero work ethic when it came to anything outside of his passion project, a revolutionary cloud-based logistics AI. He called his startup OmniRoute. Now, building a tech platform from scratch requires time. It requires focus. But most importantly, it requires capital. And Liam didn't have any of those things, especially the last one. His credit score hovered somewhere around a dismal 520 after he defaulted on his student loans and maxed out 3 credit cards buying high-end gaming rigs. So, Maya stepped up. Because that's what partners do, right? They support each other. Maya didn't just support him, she carried him on her back through a marathon of financial misery. While Liam sat in their tiny one-bedroom apartment, typing code and drinking artisanal cold brew, Maya was out in the trenches. She worked a grueling schedule, a full-time administrative job at a local clinic from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., followed by evening shifts waitressing at a high-volume diner from 6 p.m. to midnight. On weekends, she did freelance bookkeeping. She paid the rent every single month. She bought the groceries. She paid the utility bills, the internet bill, which Liam insisted had to be the highest, most expensive fiber optic tier available. And she even bought him his clothes. For 4 years, Maya didn't buy herself a single new pair of shoes. She wore her work sneakers until the soles literally separated from the fabric, supergluing them back together in the bathroom so Liam wouldn't feel guilty about not contributing. But paying for his life wasn't enough. About 2 years into the relationship, OmniRoute hit a wall. Liam had built a working prototype, but to run the beta tests and attract real investors, he needed enterprise-level servers. He needed cloud architecture. He needed domains, SSL certificates, and heavy-duty computing power. And the bill for that was going to be massive. Liam came to Maya literally on his knees, crying. He told her this was the finish line. If he could just get the servers online, investors would flock to him. He begged her to take out a personal loan. Maya was terrified. But she looked at the man she loved, a man who swore they were building a life together, and she drove to her credit union. Because Liam's credit was garbage, his name couldn't be anywhere near the application. Maya took out a $45,000 personal loan at a punishing 11% interest rate. Every single cent of it was in her name. And because Liam was so focused on the code, he couldn't be bothered with the administrative tasks. So Maya used her own email, her own credit cards, and her own accounts to set everything up. She registered the OmniRoute domain name. She signed the master service agreements with the server providers. She essentially acted as the sole legal entity for the foundational infrastructure of the company. Liam just logged in and pushed his code. For the next 2 years, Maya practically killed herself making the minimum payments on that loan while continuing to pay all their living expenses. She lost 15 pounds from stress. She started losing her hair. She was exhausted to her very bones. But then, the breakthrough happened. Year 4. OmniRoute's beta test was a massive success. The algorithm worked. Logistics companies started salivating. And Liam? Liam started taking meetings. Suddenly, the guy who used to wear Maya's oversized college hoodies was leaving the apartment in Patagonia vests and tailored slacks bought with seed money. He started coming home later and later. He stopped asking Maya about her day. When she tried to talk to him about the looming loan payments, he would wave her off, staring at his phone, muttering, "I'm dealing with millions here, Maya. Stop bothering me with pennies." And then the day came. OmniRoute secured a Series A funding round, $15 million. Liam called Maya from the venture capital firm's office to tell her the news. Maya broke down in tears of joy. The nightmare was over. The double shifts were over. They had made it. She asked him what time she should meet him to celebrate. There was a long pause on the phone. Then Liam said, "Actually, the partners are taking me out to an exclusive spot. It's really just for the founders. I'll see you tomorrow." Maya sat alone in the dark apartment they shared, eating a bowl of instant ramen while her boyfriend drank $1,000 champagne. The very next week, the betrayal happened. It was a Tuesday. Maya came home from her clinic job, her feet aching, ready to ask Liam if they could finally pay off the $45,000 loan. When she walked in, she didn't find Liam coding. She found him packing. And not into garbage bags. He was packing his things into brand new, designer leather luggage. Maya froze. She asked him what he was doing, thinking maybe they were going on a surprise vacation. Liam didn't even look her in the eye. He just kept folding his expensive new shirts. The words that came out of his mouth next were so incredibly cruel, so deeply narcissistic, that they almost don't sound real. He said, "Maya, look, we've grown apart. My life is moving at light speed now. I'm going to be sitting in boardrooms with billionaires. I'm moving into a penthouse downtown. And you're still a waitress. You're small time. I need a partner who fits my new tax bracket. Being around you just reminds me of when I was a broke loser. You're an anchor to my past, and I need to fly." Maya couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. She had literally bought the runway he was using to take off, and he was calling her an anchor. She pleaded with him. She reminded him of the sacrifices. She reminded him of the loan. Liam just scoffed. He pulled out a sleek metal checkbook, his new corporate account, and scribbled a check for $5,000. He tossed it onto the kitchen counter like he was tipping a valet. "Here," he said, "for your trouble. I'll have my assistant set up a payment plan for the rest of that loan thing eventually. Have a good life, Maya." And just like that, he walked out the door. The Audacity, folks, was only just beginning. The next 2 months were a blur of absolute devastation for Maya. She was shattered. The man she had built her entire adult life around had discarded her like a piece of trash. But worse than the heartbreak was the financial reality. Liam's assistant never called. Liam blocked Maya's number. And because Liam had stopped contributing even his meager share to the rent, and Maya was completely burned out and had lost hours at the diner, she fell behind. Within 60 days, Maya was staring at an eviction notice. She was staring at bankruptcy. The $45,000 loan, which had ballooned with interest, was demanding payments she simply couldn't make. She hit rock bottom on a Tuesday. She was walking through a grocery store, trying to figure out which brand of rice was cheapest, when she saw it on the magazine rack. A major business magazine, 30 Under 30. And right there on the cover, smiling his perfectly veneered smile, was Liam. Maya bought the magazine with the last $10 in her checking account. She sat in her car and read the article. In it, Liam bragged about his hustle. He told the interviewer, "I built OmniRoute with zero help. I had no handouts. I bootstrapped this entire company from nothing, surviving on sheer willpower and intellect." He didn't mention the waitress who bought his food. He didn't mention the $45,000 loan in a woman's name that bought his servers. He claimed he was a self-made god. But wait, if you think that's the peak of his audacity, buckle up, because Liam was about to dig his own grave. A week after the magazine incident, a heavy, expensive-looking envelope arrived in Maya's mailbox. It was from Liam. Maya's heart jumped. Maybe it was a check. Maybe it was an apology. She ripped it open. It wasn't a check. It was an invitation to a lavish, black-tie engagement party at a country club. Liam was getting married to a woman named Chloe. Chloe, as a quick Google search revealed, was the daughter of one of the lead investors in his Series A funding. She was a billionaire heiress who spent her days riding horses and posting photos from yachts. Liam had traded Maya in for an upgrade that came with venture capital attached. But that wasn't the worst part. Attached to the invitation was a bright yellow sticky note written in Liam's handwriting. It read, "Hey Maya, hope you're doing okay. Chloe's event planner is charging us a fortune. Since you were always so good at stretching a budget when we were poor, could you look over these catering contracts for me and see where we can cut costs? Thanks." When Maya read that note, something inside her snapped. The grief evaporated. The tears stopped. The paralyzing depression that had kept her crying on the floor of her empty apartment vanished, replaced by a white-hot, razor-sharp fury. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She walked over to her closet, dug past the shoes she had super-glued together, and pulled out a dusty plastic accordion folder. This brings us to the epiphany. Maya sat at her kitchen table and began to read through the paperwork from 4 years ago. The loan documents, the server leasing agreements, the domain registry receipts. Liam was a genius at writing code, but he was breathtakingly arrogant and incredibly lazy when it came to business administration. He had been so obsessed with playing the role of the visionary founder that he had never bothered to transfer any of the foundational assets into his new LLC. He had raised $15 million in Series A funding based on the software, but he didn't own the house the software lived in. Maya owned the domain name. Maya held the master lease on the AWS and Azure servers. And most importantly, because Liam hadn't drawn up an intellectual property transfer agreement when he formed his new corporate entity, the foundational IP, the original codebase hosted on those servers, technically belonged to the person who paid for and registered the hosting environment, Maya. Maya didn't know exactly what this meant legally, but she knew it meant leverage. She took the last remaining credit on a backup credit card and booked an hour with the most ruthless, shark-like corporate litigation lawyer she could find in the city, a woman named Evelyn. Maya laid the documents on Evelyn's mahogany desk. She explained the situation. Evelyn, a woman who usually charged $800 an hour, read through the paperwork in absolute silence. When she finished, she took off her glasses, looked at Maya, and smiled a smile that could freeze water. "Maya," the lawyer said, "your ex-boyfriend didn't just build his multi-million-dollar house on your land. He handed you the deed, the keys, and the remote to the demolition charges. You don't just have leverage, you own the infrastructure of OmniRoute." Maya asked, "So what do we do? Do we sue him?" Evelyn leaned back in her chair. Sue him? Oh, honey, no. Lawsuits take years. He has venture capital money to drag this out in court until you starve. We aren't going to sue him. We're going to turn off his toys. Welcome to Act 5, the execution. Timing is everything in comedy, and it's everything in revenge. Maya and Evelyn waited. They waited for 2 weeks, right up until the night before OmniRoute's massive version 2.0 public launch. This was the launch that was supposed to secure their Series B funding. Liam had invited industry press, tech bloggers, and all of his investors to a massive gala to watch the platform go live to the public. At 8 p.m., while Liam was standing on a stage at a rented museum, wearing a $3,000 tuxedo and sipping champagne with his heiress fiancé, Maya was sitting in Evelyn's office, a laptop open in front of her. Evelyn poured them both a glass of cheap bourbon. She nodded at Maya. Do it. Maya logged into the Master Server Administration panel, the panel that was entirely in her name, tied to her email, secured by her two-factor authentication. With 3 clicks of the mouse, she suspended every single active server instance running the OmniRoute platform. Then, she logged into the domain registry. She went to the DNS settings for https://www.google.com/search?q=omniroute.com, and she rerouted the domain. Where did she reroute it? To a blank, white HTML page. In the center of the page was a single line of text. To reinstate server access and resolve outstanding infrastructure debt, please contact Evelyn Vance at Vance Corporate Law. It took exactly 14 minutes for Liam to notice. At 8:14 p.m., Maya's phone buzzed. It was Liam. She ignored it. At 8:15 p.m., he called again. Then again, then again. By 8:30 p.m., she had 42 missed calls and 17 frantic text messages, ranging from, "Is the server down?" to, "Maya, what the hell did you do to my company?" At the launch party, absolute chaos had descended. The press was refreshing a blank page. The investors were furious. Liam was sweating through his tuxedo, screaming at his lead developer, who kept telling him, "We are locked out. We don't have the master admin privileges. The host says the account owner suspended the servers." At 9 a.m. the next morning, Liam didn't go to his penthouse. He went directly to Evelyn Vance's law office. Liam stormed into the conference room, flanked by 2 junior lawyers provided by his investors. He was red in the face, practically foaming at the mouth. "You're going to jail," Liam screamed, pointing a finger at Maya. "This is corporate sabotage. I'm suing you into the Stone Age. Turn my servers back on right now." Maya didn't flinch. She just looked at him, remembering the way he had tossed a $5,000 check at her. She sipped her coffee. Evelyn, the lawyer, stood up. She casually tossed a thick binder across the glass table. It slid and hit Liam's hands. "Sit down, little boy," Evelyn said, her voice laced with venom. "Before you threaten my client, I suggest your counsel reads the master agreements. My client didn't sabotage your company. My client legally suspended services on servers she personally leases, domains she personally owns, and code hosted on infrastructure she alone holds the title to. You didn't do your due diligence, Liam. You built a $15 million company in your girlfriend's backyard, and you forgot to ask for the deed." Liam's lawyers opened the binder. They reviewed the LLC filings. They looked at the server contracts. It took them less than 3 minutes to realize Evelyn was right. Liam, in his arrogance, had left a massive, gaping hole in his chain of title. The investors had missed it because Liam had sworn he owned the IP outright. Liam's face went from crimson red to ghost white. His bravado vanished. He looked at Maya, his voice trembling. "Maya, please. We were going to get married. We loved each other. You know I didn't mean those things I said. Please, just turn them back on. The investors are threatening to pull their funding." Maya finally spoke. Her voice was ice cold, completely devoid of the warmth she had given him for 4 years. "I can't, Liam," she said softly. "I'm just a waitress. I'm small time. I wouldn't want to drag down a man in your tax bracket." Evelyn took over. "Here are the terms," she stated. "We are not restoring access. We are executing a forced buyout. My client will transfer all domains, server leases, and IP rights to your LLC today. In exchange, OmniRoute will pay my client $8 million in cash from your Series A reserves." Liam choked. $8 million? That's more than half our operating capital. The board will never approve that. The investors will slaughter me. Evelyn smiled. "Then don't pay. But the servers stay dark, your launch fails, your company dies today, and the investors slaughter you anyway. You have exactly 1 hour to wire the funds, or we wipe the servers clean and sell the domain to your competitor." Liam was trapped. He had absolutely no move to make. He stepped out into the hallway, sobbing, to make the most humiliating phone call of his life to his lead investor, who also happened to be his future father-in-law. The aftermath was swift, brutal, and utterly beautiful. Liam was forced to explain his catastrophic oversight to his board. To save the company's launch, they authorized the wire transfer. $8 million landed in Maya's account before noon, but the damage was done. The investors realized that Liam was not a visionary. He was a reckless, arrogant liability who had lied about owning his own technology. Within a week, the lead investor pulled the remaining funding. OmniRoute's valuation plummeted, and Chloe, the billionaire heiress, it turns out she was only interested in marrying the next Elon Musk. When Liam became a laughingstock in the tech world, stripped of his funding and ousted as CEO of his own company by an angry board of directors, she called off the wedding. Liam was left with nothing. No company, no fiancé, no penthouse. And Maya? Maya walked out of that law office a multi-millionaire. The very first thing she did was pay off that $45,000 loan in a single lump sum. She bought herself the house with the wraparound porch, but she didn't stop there. Maya took her millions and realized she had a knack for spotting bad business practices. She went back to school, got her MBA, and opened her own boutique venture capital firm. She named it Anchor Capital, a daily reminder of what he called her. But the best part? Anchor Capital exclusively provides funding, mentorship, and legal infrastructure to female-founded startups, ensuring that no woman ever gets taken advantage of by an arrogant tech bro ever again. And that, my friends, is why you never bite the hand that feeds you, especially when that hand holds the keys to your entire kingdom. Liam wanted a partner in a different tax bracket, and Maya happily obliged, by taking all of his money and entering a tax bracket he could only dream of. What did you guys think of Maya's ultimate revenge? Do you think Liam got off too easy? Or was losing everything the perfect karma? Let me know down in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this story gave you the satisfaction you were looking for today, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you're the first to hear our next crazy story. Until next time, keep your receipts, read your contracts, and never let anyone treat you like a stepping stone. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.